Welcome to the Playground Sessions YouTube channel. I'm David Sides, and I'm excited to teach you the song we're going to learn today. It's actually the first song that I learned how to play on the piano, which was from the Lion King motion picture soundtrack called Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Now, the version that I'm going to show you how to play is actually the arrangement that I put together, and it's the Elton John version of the song. So why don't we go ahead and jump in and get started? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do before we dive in is we're going to analyze the music first, so we have a sense of what we're going to get ourselves into. So starting with the key signature, we see that we have two flats. So one on B flat and one on E flat. So that basically tells us that we're going to be playing this song in B flat major. So B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and then we end that scale back on B flat. Now this is a little tricky in this song because Elton doesn't specifically stick to just these notes, as you'll learn as we play through the song. We're going to have a little bit of chromaticism. Some of the notes that we play are going to be outside of the scale, but it'll all make sense when we put the harmonies together. So taking a look at the time signature, we see that we have 2-2. So basically what this means is we're going to be counting the song in 2, so 1 and 2 and. And then this also tells us that the half note is going to get the beat. So anytime you see a half note in this arrangement, we know to give that half note one full count. The quarter note gets half a count. Now, we're going to start with the left hand. I like starting with the left hand learning songs because I feel like you get to capture the harmony, and that kind of sets the foundation for the rest of the music. The interesting thing here in this song is that we're going to be playing a lot of chords, I'm not going to lie. But the chords that we play here are, number one, in the same register. So you'll notice that most of the chords we play are going to stick within this range. So that helps. Another thing that helps with this song is that we're actually going to learn a chord progression that's going to repeat. So we're going to take a look at the first chord progression, and then I'll point out the second chord progression and the parts of the music that change. So let's go ahead and walk through these chords in this song. So the very first chord that we're going to learn here in this song is going to be B flat major over F, or in other words, B flat major in second inversion. So we're going to start with our pinky here on this F to the left of middle C. Our index finger is going to play this B flat, and our thumb is going to play this D. Moving on from there, we move to F major in root position. So we keep our pinky here on this F, but now we play this A with our middle finger and this C or middle C with our thumb. Moving on, we have G minor in root position. So here we play G with our ring finger, we have this B flat with our index, and then we play this D with our thumb. And then the last chord of this first 4-measure phrase is going to be E flat major. Now, we're going to play this a couple different ways. The first way we're going to play it in root position. We have our pinky here on E flat, our ring finger plays this G, and then our index finger plays this B flat. Now, the second time we play this chord, we're going to add this E flat up here. But if your hands are too small to reach that, you can just stay on the root position, or you can play it in first inversion this way, whatever's comfortable for you. But if you can make the stretch, we play it this way first, and then we just add that octave on top. Great, so now let's move on to the next 4 measures. Again, we play that B flat over F. We jump back to that E flat. Again, is written with the octave on top, but if your hands are too small or that's uncomfortable, feel free to play it any other inversion that you'd like. And now we have a chord that uses a note outside of the scale. Now remember when I walked through the B flat major scale at the beginning of the video, I said that for the most part we're going to play those notes, but occasionally we're going to run into some notes outside of the scale. This is the first time we get it. So moving from that E flat, we're going to now play C major in second inversion. Now here, the E is going to be natural. And if you remember from the scale, E is played as E flat. So we're going to play G, C, or middle C, and then we're going to play E natural. Great. Now moving on to the next chord, we're going to play an F major in root position, but this is actually a sus4. So rather than playing F, A, C, we're going to play F, we're going to play B flat, and we're going to play C here. So 5, 2, 1, F, B flat, and C. And then from there we move to a regular F in root position, F, A, C. All right, we're almost there. Let's take a look at the next 4 measures. We start with that E flat chord, we then move to G minor. We have the S sus chord again, before going back to E flat. Moving on, we play C minor, this time in second inversion. So remember the first time we played C major, where we had the E was natural. This time we're going to play the E flat. We move from there to G minor. we move back to the E flat. So notice we're recycling the same chords for the most part. So it feels like it's a lot, but if you memorize the few chords that we have, you'll get through it. We'll go back to C major, play that E natural there. And then now we're going to play another F sus chord, but earlier we played it like this with the 5-2-1, but this time, and again, if your hand's big enough, we're going to play the F octave on top. We're going to play the B flat with your middle finger and the C with your index, like this. If this is too much of a stress for your hand, feel free to just play it like this. And then from there, we move to F major, keeping the octaves on top if you can make the reach. And then we play just the 3 notes on the bottom. Great job. So we're halfway through the chords. I know it feels like a lot, but luckily this pattern that we just learned is going to repeat for the remainder of the chorus with a few changes at the end. I'll point them out when we get there. So let's walk through this quickly and I'll point out the changes. So we start with that B flat over F, then we move to F, G minor, so this should all feel familiar to you. Back to B flat over F. Now as I'm transitioning between these chords, notice how my fingers kind of dance between one chord to the next. Transitioning between these chords is going to be the most difficult part. But as long as you get the fingering correctly, moving from one chord to the next should be fairly easy. So now we're in the last 4 measures. So we have C minor over G. Again, this chord you played before. But now we're going to go to G minor. We go back to E flat. We go to F, E flat again. And then we close out on B flat over F. So now that we know the entire pattern of the left hand in the chorus for this song, I'm going to play it for you all the way through in the regular speed of the song. And again, as I'm playing the chords for you, keep an eye not only on the pattern, but how my hand transitions from one chord to the next. Now we're ready to throw the melody of the song on top. Now, obviously, this is going to be the most recognizable part of the song, so I think you guys are going to enjoy learning how to play this. Now, similar to the left hand, there is some material in the music that repeats from one, half of the chorus to the next half, so that's going to make it a little easier to pick up, but I'll walk you through it and I'll show you the pattern that's used in the right hand, and I'll also point out where it changes at the end of the chorus. So let's start by getting into an octave position on F to the right of middle C. So the very first note that we're going to play is this high F with our pinky. We move down to D, C, back up to F, D. Then we jump down to B flat. Now before moving down, we played this G with our thumb, but now we're going to pivot our index finger to reach this F. And that allows for you to play the rest of that melody. So again, we go from B flat to G, pivot, walk down. Great. Then we play a melody above that. So we're going to jump up to this E flat. We got F, B flat, E flat. And then we end this melodic idea here on D in the next measure. Good. Moving forward, we play F, B flat, E flat, D, C. Now we're going to play another similar melody to the one that we just played, but now it's going to be built on F. So F, drop back down to F, B flat, back to F. And now we ended on C. Good. Now we're going to move our hand into a new position because our ring finger is going to play this B flat. Walk down, go to F. Great. Now let's stop here before moving forward. Now before moving forward to the next measure, I want to point out something that's going to happen. So far we've been playing every note with just one voice in the music. When we get to the next measure, we're going to actually have two voices. I'll point that out when we get there. We ended here on G. Now we walk up. Now here we're going to add a second voice. While keeping our ring finger on B flat, we're going to bring our thumb down to play this D. So let me do that again. We walk up. We play it again. Now hold that D while playing this F twice. Now that may seem a little weird, but when we throw in the left hand and play with both hands together, it's going to make perfect sense as to why we do that. I'll point that out when we get to both hands section, but let's just keep moving on for now. So I'll show that section again. Now we jump up to F. Good, walk down. Pretty straightforward. Good. Now we're going to come to the end of this phrase and jump right back into the next part of the chorus. So that's the entire first half of the chorus. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the good thing about this song, similar to the left hand, is that the right hand also repeats the melody for the most part until you get to the last few measures. So I'll quickly walk through the melody again for the latter half of the chorus, but when I get to the different part at the end of the chorus, I will point that out. So we start here on F again, walk down. This should all seem familiar. Pivot. Good, and we have that melody again. Hand position change. Multiple voice. Here's the change. So now we're going to play this G again. E flat, D, C, and we're going to end here on B flat. We're going to hold that out, and then the last measure, we're going to rest. Great, so now that we know the entire pattern for the right hand in the chorus, I'm going to put it all together. I'll play it for you at the normal tempo of the song. And as I'm playing this, just keep in mind all the things that I pointed out. Keep an eye out for the pivot, take a look at how that works. You also know there's a couple little melodic things that we do in different places. And there's also a couple sections where we have multiple voices. So I'll play this for you, keep an eye out for that, and let's give it a shot. All right, so we've learned the left hand of the song, we've learned the right hand of the song, so let's jump in now and put them both together. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The left hand's going to start with this B flat major chord over F, and the right hand starts with this octave position over F. Left hand changes. Good. Right hand pivots. C natural chord. Good. Sus in the left hand. Great job. Let's move on to the next 8. With the left hand, we're going to start with that E flat chord. Again, if this is too difficult for your hand size, you can play it any other kind of way, as long as we have that E flat, G, and B flat in there. And then our right hand is going to start on this G. Let's come down. Now this is where we play the second voice with the right hand and how it all comes together. In the left hand, we're going to play this chord. And in the right hand, we play this. But together, it sounds like this. Good. Moving on. Sus in the left hand. All right. The minor chord in the left. C major chord in the right hand. And then we have the sus with the octave in the left before moving to the F major position. And that completes the first phrase of the chorus. Now, the great thing moving forward is that this same pattern repeats over the next 12 measures. The only difference is going to be the last 4 measures of the chorus. So I'll jump straight to those last 4 measures and show you how that works. Then we can put it all together and play the chorus with both hands. So in the last 4 measures of the chorus, our left hand plays a C minor over G, and our right hand plays this E flat with our pinky. Comes down at the same time. Left hand moves to G minor, then the E flat. Before going to F, the right hand closes out on B flat. The right hand holds while the left hand then goes to E flat. And then we close the idea out with the B flat over F. Great job. So now that we know how this all works, let's put it all together and play it at normal speed from the top. Great job, everyone. We just finished learning how to play the chorus to Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John. If you want to learn the rest of the song, please check out the Playground Sessions application where you can see all of the notes laid out for you and use all the interactive features that you saw today in this video. Until next time, keep practicing.
The features you saw on screen today can be at your fingertips with the Playground Sessions app. Co-created by music legend Quincy Jones, Playground teaches the piano with interactive feedback and gaming features, all while using your favorite songs. All right, guys, I'm Phil. Hit subscribe so I can see you for the next video.